Today, I'm going to give a brief overview and demonstration of an innovative software product from Logical Innovations called Visual Signature Capture. Visual Signature Capture allows patients to fill out and sign documents electronically rather than on paper, saving all the time and effort associated with paper documents, including scanning, shredding, and data re-entry. The documents are completely customizable to meet the needs of your clinic. The software is fully integrated with Athena Practice Athena Flow, the former Centricity products. Current patient data can be displayed on the documents, and changes made by the patients flow back to your EHR as OBS terms or demographic data. A PDF copy of the document filled out by the patient is automatically generated and can be attached to the chart or located in the PM or placed in a document management system. In the clinic, documents can be filled out on a touchscreen device such as a tablet, or if a computer without a touchscreen is being used, a Topaz signature pad can be used to obtain signatures. Our most recent release allows patients to fill out documents from home on their own computer or even on a phone. With this background in mind, I will now perform a brief demonstration of the product. Staff sign into Visual Signature Capture using their EHR credentials. Once they've signed in, they'll be able to see the patients and the documents that need to be filled out. Most often, these patients and documents are added by what we call rules, SQL queries of the database that use the appointment schedule and criteria such as an appointment type, the last time an OBS term was updated, gender, or really anything that's in your database that we can use to determine what documents a patient should be assigned. However, if you're not using rules, in this automated addition of patients and documents, there's always the ability to manually add a patient and a document that they need to sign. So for instance, you can search just by the name, the patient ID, or the date of birth. And once you find the patient that you're looking for, you can add that patient and add any documents that that patient would need to fill out. As I mentioned, really any type of document can be filled out using Visual Signature Capture, and the documents can be completely customized for your clinic. In this demonstration, I'm going to cover a few pretty common types of documents that are filled out at some of our customer sites. A consent, a medical screening form, a demographic form, as well as a form that has some images on it. We do support images on forms and they can be drawn on. One thing to note is that when a patient and documents are added, the patient is assigned a unique one-time PIN that they'll use to sign in and fill out their documents. Patients sign in to Visual Signature Capture to fill out their documents using that unique one-time PIN that they're provided with. And then once they've entered the PIN, they verify their identity by putting in their date of birth. Once they've signed in, they can view and complete their documents. As I mentioned, we recently have set up workflows that allow patients to fill out documents from home as well. The patient is sent a one-time PIN by email or text, and then they can create a Visual Signature Capture account to fill out their documents, or they can sign in as a guest using the one-time PIN. Once the patient is signed in, they can open and fill out their documents. First, we'll look at this consent for treatment. A couple of things to notice here. One, if you're clinic has a logo or something that you would like to display on the form, we can do that. We support images on these documents. Second, some patient information is being pulled into the form so they don't have to enter it, such as the patient name in a couple of locations, the patient ID. We've also pre-populated the date here. And so really, once the patient reads through the form, all that they need to do to complete things is to enter their signature. The other thing that I'd like to point out on this form is that we do support multiple signatures. So if it is a document where you need a witness or a provider to sign, we can also support that second signature. Once the signatures are complete, this document can be submitted, and the patient can then open their next document. The next document that I have here to look at is a PHQ-9 screen. And so on this document, the patient is being asked a series of questions which they're going to respond to. And these are radio buttons, so they can really only choose one answer on each line. And they don't actually need to click on the radio button, just clicking on the text is fine. And the other thing that I was going to point out here is that any field on a document can be made required if you would like it to be made required, so that if a patient tries to submit without filling out a required field, they're forced to go back and enter the data for that field before completing the document. Now, the other thing to notice here is some of your documents may not require a signature. So in this particular document, I didn't include a signature box. Just have the patient fill out the screen and then submit the document. Then the data is going to come into your EHR. The next document that I'm going to look at here is this patient profile, which is a document that allows the patient to update their demographic information. What you can see is that if the patient is an established patient and there's a lot of information already available for that patient in registration, that information will pull right into the document. They don't need to re-enter it all. They can just update anything that changed. So let's say, for instance, Dawn's job changed, and so the work phone is no longer the same, and so that's going to be updated. And then let's say, since the last time he filled out a form, he's got a new email account that he tends to use now. But he's still living in the same place, and his insurance hasn't changed. And so everything else is the same, and now all he needs to do is sign the document. And then submit it. And of course, this is a very simple form. We can obviously capture a lot more information on the demographic form if you so choose. The last form that I'm going to look at today is a form for knee pain. And the reason I decided to show that form is because I wanted to demonstrate that visual signature capture supports images on documents, and also that the patient can write on those images. So say, for instance, Dawn is experiencing pain on the front of his right knee, just below the kneecap. You could sort of indicate that on this diagram and then fill out the rest of the form. How did your problem start? Okay, he was in a bike accident. When did it start? Let's say, it happened sometime last month. And then overall, things have just been staying about the same. That's why I'm here. I've tried a knee brace, but that didn't really seem to help. So I'm going to fill out this form and submit it. Once the patient has completed and submitted their documents, staff will be able to see those documents from within the EHR. Here I've added the documents to the chart, but we can also add documents to the paperclip and registration, or send them to a document management system. You can see the entries for the documents that I just filled out here, and we can view the PDFs. So here, for instance, is that consent with the signatures, and I've linked it to the chart with an HL7 file sent to LinkLogic. If the document contains data that's linked to OBS terms, as is the case for this PHQ-9, you can see that the PHQ-9 data has come over as OBS terms, and I'm actually using the scores here rather than text. And one thing that I wanted to show is that in addition to having the data come over to the chart, it can also be pulled into an encounter form. And so you can see here that I've actually got a PHQ-9 form, and I'm pulling the data in from that PHQ-9 screen that the patient just filled out, and I can score it and then sort of find the analysis for that score. I've got another tab here that shows that a score of 5 is associated with mild depression in this case. One final thing that I wanted to show is that I can actually take data from an update and launch a VSC document for signature. So in this example here, I have a form for a surgical procedure, and what I'm going to do is actually just click a button that I've built into the form, and that's going to launch visual signature capture, and you can sign the document right there. It pulls in information from the form that I launched it from. So if you're launching from a touchscreen device or something that's got a Topaz pad attached to it, then you can sign the document here. You could also just add it to visual signature capture and fill it out later. I hope that I've been able to give you some sense of how visual signature capture can be used to capture patient data and signatures for your clinic. In this short demo, I've barely scratched the surface of what can be done. If you'd like to discuss things further or schedule a demonstration, please contact us at sales@logicalinnovations.com. Thank you.